Our first video in the Backup Your Data series, I talked about the My Passport Ultra 2TB drive and how I was going to use it for backing up and transferring files that we're using for our videos and things of that nature. I'm going to show you in a minute how I did that and what the software did by going to a screen cap and seeing how that all worked, how it installed and everything that went. It went really smoothly. I'm impressed with it. And we'll get into that here in a little bit. Kind of want to just go through a walkthrough real fast of some other solutions that are available. That's what I have sitting here in front of us. This is actually a Western Digital MyBook Essential. This is USB 3 only. I guess if you use a 2 you'll just have slower speeds, but you can see we have that same port I was talking about earlier as the USB 3.0 cable. This is a single drive solution as well. This is a 2TB. And this is kind of what I use for all my, or most of my media, videos, music, things like that, my iTunes folders, that kind of stuff. And it's a good solution, especially if you don't have room in your machine for another drive, which at the time I did not. So this was a great solution for that. So again, I mentioned the Ultra and this are both single drive solutions. The other option you have with Western Digital is this style of MyBook, which is dual drive. It has 2 hard drives in it. This one has 2 1TB drives. This is older. This is probably 6 years old. This was huge at the time I got it. The nice thing about this is you can set them up in RAID like I have this one. So one backs up to the other, and if one fails, just pop in a new one, rebuild, no data loss. Or if you just need raw space, you can configure it to use both and you have 2 TB of storage. This one, which is still an option on their newer series, now I use SATA, eSATA for my hook it up to my computer now. It does have USB, but it's 2.0 and kind of slow. The way I used to hook it up was to my Mac and I used FireWire. The big upside to these is with the FireWire you can actually daisy chain them. So you can have one FireWire port on your computer and you can daisy chain these together to get more space. That's a pretty nice feature if you do need a lot of external storage and you don't have any room in your case. So that's something to look at in the future. So those are our options we have for the large full-size drives. This is another one I had. This is a Simplex, I believe was the company. This is even older than my Western Digital. 320 gig was massive at the time, and that's what this is. It's an old USB interface. It requires a power cord, which these do too. The nice thing about this one is at the time it had software, which like the Western Digital has, you can tell it what files you want to back up. This one, to tell you how it worked, was old enough that you actually had to, you told it what files you wanted and everything, but you had to push this button to make it actually back those files up. I still use this every now and then, but in general it just kind of sits in a box. The main reason I think I got it is it was on sale. Like I said, 320 gigs was huge, and it was designed by Pininfarina, so it's kind of cool looking, but that's another option. These are all just full-size drives. So the other thing we used to use quite a bit, this is an old style USB case for a laptop drive. And to show you how old it is, these come in a lot of different styles, but they usually have a quick opening like that. This one you can tell is older because this is still using IDE, and it's actually screwed on. It doesn't just pop off. So again, it's pretty quick to just swap the drives out. You can use it to transfer files, or as a permanent storage solution you can buy one of these enclosures and then just a laptop size hard drive to pop in there and use it. There's a newer style though, which is what I'll show you now, that actually works really well. It's probably my favorite external drive case. This is a Arico. The reason I really like this is SATA, which I like obviously because those are pretty much obsolete. This says USB 3.0. or an eSATA hookup on it. Super simple case. You push this button, this lever's open. There's a little spring in there. It's pretty dark down there because it's all black. I don't know if you'll be able to see it, but you can just drop your SATA hard drive in there. The connectors are down in the bottom. Then you just close this up and that spring pushes it down, and now your drive's ready to be accessed. I use this a lot because I have a lot of friends that are self-employed. They don't have an IT guy, and no matter how many times I tell them to back up their data, they don't. Then something fails, their hard drive crashes. Most of the time they fill their hard drive completely up. They start getting the Windows warning saying you're out of space, and then they choose, I want to get more space, so I will defrag. And then the drive crashes in defrag because it doesn't have enough space to move around. The good news is there's some software available that I use to get most of that data back, because the drive didn't physically fail, it's its file system that failed. So the majority of it can usually be recovered. To do that, they buy a bigger hard drive, I put that in their machine, I reload their OS, I get it all set up, I bring their drive back, throw it in this cage, plug it in, and run my software and let it strip all that off. It takes hours depending on how big it is, and I move that file to one of my big external drives, and then I take it back to them, let them use it, and then generally that hard drive that they had, if it's not in too bad a shape, it can be reformatted, and it's probably most of the time still a good drive. So I will have them purchase a case similar to this, pop it in there. Now they have a backup that was their drive that they killed, because again, it usually is the file system that dies in that situation, not the actual hardware. So that's what I use that for. It's really good. They're not too expensive. I want to say they're about 20 bucks. I'll put a link on Amazon in the video description for it, but these are really good to have. So again, I go back to Western Digital My Passport, but I don't have enough room right now for everything that we're doing. So this is my newest solution, which is my biggest single drive I've ever got. So 3 terabytes, probably not saying a whole lot these days, but that's what it is. It'll last us for a while. I can fit 3 of these in my case right now. If I get rid of the machine I have now and build a new one, the case I'm looking at, I can fit 12, so then problem solved. But this is kind of middle of the road for costs per terabyte. This is a really good option. Again, I'll put a link to Amazon for this. I got this one off of Newegg. They're usually a couple dollars difference in price, so you can check both. They come in different sizes. There's a 4 terabyte version. I believe there's even a bigger one. 3 terabyte though, this one was only about 92 bucks. So again, a lot of space for the same cost. So this and this were essentially the same cost, about 6s. And this is 2 terabytes, this is 3, because obviously this has an external case, would be why I would assume they justify that. As you can see from here, Western Digital, Western Digital, Western Digital, Western Digital. I use Western Digital. I like Western Digital. It's a preference. Linus Tech Tips just put up a video about their new storage solution. They use Seagate drives. They took a bunch of heat for it, saying, oh, Seagates are all crap, they're going to die. I used to be of the opinion of the same way. The reason being is, and I believe the reason most people have those opinions, is they had a bad experience once with those drives. The problem is, hard drives are the most mechanical and most used part on your system. So obviously they are a failure point. Now, that being said, because of that, that is what's going to fail. No matter how good you build them, they are a mechanical part in a computer, and they are extremely precise. If you ever had one apart, the arms above the platters, everything is precise. So they are the most prone to failure. And no matter what brand you buy, you're going to get some failures. When I started working for Xerox, when their first digital machines came out, the DC-230s, it was about 16 years ago. Can't believe it's been that long already. They used all Seagate drives, and they failed miserably. all the time. So we switched to using a Maxter at the time, and we didn't have a problem. Then I started using Western Digital in our office computers and our servers and things like that, and they've just been super reliable, so we've never had a problem. However, I have friends that are in the tech industry that are system administrators that hate Western Digital and will only use Seagate because they had an experience that was opposite of mine. Their Seagates have been great, their Western Digitals have had issues. So take it with a grain of salt when somebody says, oh, don't buy that because of that brand is garbage. You know, if it's Western Digital, if it's Seagate, if it's a known brand of hard drives, Hitachis, Samsungs, things like that, they're all good drives. They are going to have some failures, but that's just because it's a hard drive. That's all the more reason to back up your data. Stick to a good brand, but don't be swayed by someone's opinion of you have to have this or you have to have that. So next thing we're going to do is go to the screen cap, and I'll show you what happened when I installed the Western Digital software, how that all worked and came about. I've reorganized my files, which has taken a couple days because I had stuff spread over these drives because it was just backing it up, but these are used for my media and personal, to get everything consolidated to one. It's on here. It's about almost a terabyte. And so we're going to move or copy that entire terabyte over to this drive so we have it in two locations. And then I'll use this as a swap and this as the main, and we'll back up to here. And then also eventually we're going to get to where this is going to be too small, which is going to happen sooner than later. And so I'll be getting another one of these, putting it in there so we have two 3 terabyte drives in there. So we'll go ahead and switch to the screen cap and show you how the Western Digital software worked.